I'm doing very well.
All right, so I'm just
Oh,
kicking off the session. Thank you so much. So, greetings everybody for joining in to this for a session for decrypting service now with Check Tomasi. It's going to be a good session, of course. And thank you so much for joining on your Sunday morning. And I guess it is evening for Czech. Most of the people are from Indian time zone, and getting here on the Indian morning, in your Sunday morning is really worthy. I am a bit nervous today. I have hosted many events in my life, but this is quite special for me because this is something like hosting your guru, like what we say in our Indian culture, like the most amount of respect you pay is your teacher, right? So my ServiceNow teacher is there in the house today. So we will not going to get into who is Chak Tomasi. I'm not going to introduce himself. We are going to ask him to tell himself about himself, right? Just a small story like how I was able to manage to bring Check Tomasi for all of you. If you remember, we did some ServiceNow JavaScripting challenge a few months back, and I got some appreciation and a DM from Chuck over the LinkedIn, and that gave me a sense that Chuck is so generous that he can reply to anyone, he can respond to everyone. So I made sure, let's why not ask him if he can come and give some value to our community. So thank you so much, Chuck, for joining in. So, Chuck,
my pleasure.
before we start into today's session, people want to exactly know who is Chuck Tomasi because they have seen you as the front face of ServiceNow. Teaching JavaScripting courses, teaching cool things in ServiceNow. You have massive followers over LinkedIn and ServiceNow community, but people want to know the background. Okay, from where Chuck Tomasi is, from how Chuck Tomasi became Chuck Tomasi. In short, Chuck.
Oh, in short, that's a big story for somebody my age. Yeah, at the high level, I am a father, a husband. I guess you could say I'm an earthling, aren't we all? I am a brother. I'm a son. So I am many things, and I love to explore technology. I love to share with people, and as my webpage says, I learn and I share and I change lives. So hopefully that's coming through, and I enjoy every minute of. I feel very blessed to be able to do what I do and share it with the world.
Thank you so much, Chuck, around it. So just before we move on to the audience, you can start putting your questions for Chuck in your chat window to the host and the co-host. And I really appreciate Anubhav for being a volunteer for today. He will be managing the chat and the participants and all the technical background before I interact with Chuck. So the agenda is going to be very simple. We are going to ask few little questions to Chuck in the starting, and then Chuck is going to advise us how we can shape our career in service now. That is the prime agenda I wanted to bring, Chuck, for all of you, because I know we are going here and where. I am personally going here and where, and not finding the right path. So mentoring is the best thing. So before we jump into that session, Chuck, okay, so how was your journey till now? Like, what's your native place? How was your school, college, and how do you feel being advocate of service now and inspiring thousands of lives every day? How do you feel about it?
As I said before, I feel very blessed to be able to do what I do. It really is. It was somewhat accidental. I did not plan on this. When I was a little boy, I said I want to grow up to be a developer advocate. No, nobody says that. You want to be a fire. Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be an archaeologist, or what was the other one? It was something in the sciences, in the STEAM somewhere. It was. I'll remember a paleontologist, archaeologist, somewhere along there. I either wanted to dig something up or do something with rockets. I don't remember. It was, but it sort of took that. It wasn't until I was a teenager that I discovered computers, and I would stay after school and type in the programs that were in the books. This is way back in the early 80s. And I was hooked. I said, this is for me. This is what I want to do. And along my journey, I discovered, oh, computers can talk to other computers. And back then it was modems and dial-up, and then the internet came out, and it just exploded, and I've been having a great time ever since.
That's really interesting, because generally what people think is that you should have a proper background of information technology if you want to become expert in that. So that's really motivating, Chuck. So Chuck, during your this journey, what was the prime formula for you which you were able to decode when you were getting upskilled in ServiceNow, or I would say becoming a master in ServiceNow? And what should our beginners should take care? Okay, like what mistake you don't want them to repeat, maybe what you did in your past.
Well, pick your mistake. I've made a lot. There's an old phrase that says you learn from your mistakes. Well, I've learned a lot, so I must have made a lot of mistakes along the way. I would say, find someone who knows more than you do, and ask them to be your coach, ask them to be your mentor. Just engage with the community. When I was much younger, earlier in my career, starting to explore Unix systems and whatnot, there really was not much of an online community. I think there were Usenet news groups about that time. They were just starting up, or I was just discovering them. But it took a while to get your response. Now you can, post something in a Slack channel and get people, answering very quickly. So it really is a wonderful world that we're so connected, and we have the capabilities to engage with people around the globe in near real time, much as this is now. Just having that community, having that engagement, whether it's on a larger scale or even just a one-on-one, that's what my advice would be: is find those people of like-minded skills and passion, and connect with them, learn from them, share with them. And it's much like when I first started roller skating or did racquetball. I was terrible at it, and we all had our first day sitting at the keyboard on the computer and going, I don't know where I should even begin. You have to take those first initial steps, and then if you find somebody, like in racquetball, they paired me up with the best player in the class, and he continuously would win, but I would learn. I said, wait, stop, show me what you did. How did you get there? What was the answer? And I would learn so much by learning from somebody who knows more.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. What generally happens is we want to be a master in something, but we don't want to follow the path. The path is more important than becoming, reaching at that goal.
Oh.
So I totally understand that, the journey, you need to follow that journey in order to become something in out of it. So my next question to you is, like, if you want to define, before this call, I was going through your LinkedIn profile to check your journey, the career journey. Okay. And the first interesting question, I guess the audience will be amazed to know if you can tell your total experience, like total job experience, because I see that number is quite huge. And so maybe few people who are joining as participants, it's equivalent to their age. I can definitely relate to that. And the follow-up question to that is how it is being to work with ServiceNow and being the front face of it. Like what emotion does it carry for you, Chuck?
Let's start on the first part, the career. I started working when I was about 10 years old. I worked for my father. He had a scuba shop. He discovered that scuba, it was something that he and my mom enjoyed doing. They became instructors. We opened a small shop where we lived. We were right next to Lake Superior, which has some beautiful, clear water, wonderful shipwrecks, things to explore. We would train people and we would sell equipment to them. Well, at 10 years old, I'm obviously not a scuba instructor, but I could count boxes, so I learned inventory control. I could, ship those packages, so I learned a little bit about shipping and receiving. That's when UPS made you fill out paper forms, call the local dispatch center, and they'd send a truck over. It was way different than the online ordering and delivery we do today. But through that, I learned customer service. I learned about equipment. I learned about presentation skills because my brother eventually became an instructor, and I was an assistant in his classes. I became a dive master. It really was very formative to what I would become later in life, and then blend in the technological thing. I often had a second job. I was delivering newspapers for a while. As my career at the dive shop was starting to come to an end. That's a whole different story for another time. But I started working at a local roller rink. And that led to working at a computer store. Same owners owned the roller rink, and then they created a spin-off business for a local computer dealership, and I was a service technician there. That led to me discovering online bulletin boards, dial-up, started building a community, and you start getting these little hints of what Chuck would become later in life. It's easy when you look back. It's not even it's so accidental how I got here. But when I graduated college, my brother, who used to be the scuba instructor, had gone on and worked at an electronics company, and they were looking for a software developer. They said, does anybody know a software developer who is familiar with modem communications, electronics, and can develop on a PC? He said, yeah, my younger brother Chuck is graduating in a few weeks. So I started as a software developer. Then I became a Unix system administrator, did that for a number of years, IT project manager, sort of worked my way around at the individual contributor level. And then in 2005, 2006, had an opportunity to step into the manager role. And that brought with it some new and interesting challenges. That transferred over to becoming the manager of the global service desk. We were bringing the service desk back in-house. We had tried outsourcing it for a number of years. Wasn't working as well as expected. So they said, we'd like to bring this back in, and we're going to need somebody to build the department, both here in the US and in Malaysia. We had a dual call center. Everything from hardware to staffing to wastebaskets and office space to salaries. It was really very invigorating to be able to focus on one core project. And through that process, we had selected ServiceNow. So I was a customer for a couple of years, went to Knowledge 10, got the award that hangs proudly on my wall behind me, the Innovation of the Year Award for building an app. And a few weeks after that, I was let go from that job. I was there for 22 years, loved every minute of it, had some great relationships with people. I still keep in touch with many of them. And a few weeks later, I was hired by ServiceNow as a technical consultant. That led into enablement, so basically internal training. So getting our new technical consultants up and running. That led to a little bit of pre-sales as a solution consultant, and then finally as a developer evangelist and advocate. So that's the short version of my resume.
That's a massive one. That's a massive one. If I just add 5 years to your previous year of experience, that is equal to my age right now, Chuck. So, and what I take from that journey is that many of the people I hear in this community that they are into this anxiety, that they are into some different domain, and then they want to shift into ServiceNow. They're getting inspired from ServiceNow platform. They're seeing opportunities in here, but they have some fear. Okay, like my background doesn't relate to it, right? So how can I do that? So the one thing I would like to say to everybody is, like, if Chuck can do it, you can also do it. So that's the way about it, right? So we have very interesting questions coming into chat window. But before that, I would like to ask my last question here, and then we'll make over to Chuck to tell about the career perspective. Chuck, in ServiceNow, see, the best thing I learned, like about ServiceNow is that it's expanding its horizons, right? You have ITSM, CSM, now AI, machine learning, everything, right? But what confuses us as a developer or as a designer or as an architect, okay, that shall I go broad or shall I go deep? So that is the biggest question, people have in their mind, because they want to learn everything, okay, and
Right.
they want to master everything, but every human has certain limitations and boundaries. So what is your advice, for that, like how to go about it?
Well, I forgot. I neglected to answer the second part of your last question. How does it feel to be, um, such a visible facade or face of ServiceNow? I feel very honored and very blessed to be able to do this. It's not something I take lightly. I recognize there are a lot of people that have questions, have opportunities. They turn to me. I don't always know the answer. I'll be the first one to admit I don't know everything. And that kind of leads into the question you just asked is I like this concept of what we call the T-shaped employee. There's knowing a little about a lot of things. So I know, some service portal, I know some UI builder, I know some mobile, I know some RPA, but I've found my niche, and you'll know it when you get it. Explore and experiment with the different technologies and the different processes on the platform. But when you hit one, maybe even two of those things, it's really going to, it makes your heart sing. You're going to find you're staying up late or working weekends and holidays on that one particular thing and say, that's my genre. That's the music I love. So I'm going to play that song and learn as much about it as I can. For me, it's things like integrations, writing code, and making custom applications, building solutions where they hadn't been before. If you start asking me about building custom next experience components, I'm not there yet. I haven't had a chance to explore it. If I find a personal project that can attach to that gives me that opportunity, I will look into it. I will try to adapt or adopt that technology so that I can explore it. And maybe it goes up in that shallow section. But if it's something that really resonates and I feel like, yeah, I could do this a little bit more, I'll take that deep dive into it and learn all I can.
That's really wonderful, Chuck. So in short, what I learned from there is that it's okay that if you don't know everything, that is completely okay. Yeah? It's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Even if your manager says, okay, you should know everything, but you have certain limitations. that's
and nobody knows. Yeah, Pat Casey doesn't know everything. Fred Luddy doesn't know everything. There's the people who built this platform. I talked to a number of our product managers and engineers internally. They don't know everything. They know a lot about what they're working on, and they know how to work with the other teams. But nobody knows everything. If you were to come to me and ask me a question about hardware asset management, I don't know. I know of it. I can point you to resources, but I haven't done it. I haven't done. I think I did some GRC years and years ago. I did some discovery and service mapping in the early days. I took a course once on performance analytics, but I would have to go back and that's in that shallow end. I'd go back and look up some of my resources and training and whatnot to get back into that. But there's a lot of the platform and a lot of the applications that I just haven't had the opportunity to explore, nor the time. And that's when I asked myself, is it value added to do that? What do I gain and what can I offer the community? My first questions would be, where I'm going to be looking in the community for answers for that, because that's where the experts have written down their knowledge, so to speak.
Thanks, Jack. We'll like to learn more about community going forward. But before that, I guess you had some presentation on to guide people about their career. Would you like to bring that up? Yeah. So why we are doing this is because people have certain doubts in their head how to make their career a fruitful career in ServiceNow. Okay, they sometimes they want to go to path A, sometimes path B, path C, but there should be a structured advice or mentoring if you can provide to our audience, including me. That would be fruitful, Check. So I have made you the co-host. I guess you should be able to share your screen by now.
I will do my best right here. Share screen. See if I can share the first desktop, and then I'll bring up my presentation, and that did not go where I wanted it to. Hold on, there's something up with PowerPoint. I was practicing earlier. One moment.
No worries, take your time.
Do that, and then I know I need to flip that. There we go. Okay, you should be seeing the slide.
Yes.
That says career growth.
Yes, Jack, you can go ahead.
Not seeing that Zoom window there, are you? Okay, let me get that out of the way. Okay, so these are some notes I threw together. I did not, do a PhD dissertation on this. It was, hey, what can I offer you that I feel would be valuable from my years of experience? So the first thing, and I already hinted at this a little bit, is find your passion. Go in and don't be afraid to explore. Explore all you can, whether it's technical and beyond. I'm finding that a lot of things that I explore that are non-technical actually have a way of weaving their way into the technical world. My personal life and my professional life blend very nicely together, especially with a a platform like ServiceNow, and I see something I'm passionate about. It's like, I discovered karaoke. How can I use ServiceNow to explore my passion for karaoke and grow my knowledge of the platform? Hey, I know, let's go make an application that catalogs 100 different YouTube channels for all their karaoke songs, and I'll learn more about Service Portal in the process, but I still get to have fun singing karaoke on Friday nights. So that's an example that you can discover as you go through that. Discover what it is that excites you. I mentioned that before. You're going to find that thing that just, it's like that glass ringing, and your ear goes, wow, I can. It's also clear to me that this is what I'm excited about. Keep your eyes open for those opportunities as you discover and as you explore these new technologies. Already mentioned, for me, it was integrations and creating new applications, that kind of thing. And back in the early days, I loved connecting. I discovered that the value of connecting these systems together was more than the sum of the parts. When you get ServiceNow talking to your CRM package, talking to Microsoft Office, like, wow, think of the things you could do there that it didn't do before. It just, this holistic solution to save people time and save people money. I know I'm sounding kind of markety now, but it really does play together nicely. Once you find that passion, share your passion. Just share it with the world. Share your discoveries, even if you're just starting out. I love hearing stories about people who are just getting started on their journeys, because those give insights to other people who are more experienced. Don't be afraid to ask a question that you may not know. Go, oh, I don't want to sound silly, or I don't want to sound stupid. It really does help the more experienced people frame their question. They go, oh, you know what? I never thought of it that way. You've asked a very, very good question. And if you are one of those more experienced people, be open to those suggestions and new perspectives, because a lot of times once you start doing something, you fall into a routine. We're creatures of habit. I was just mentioning this on yesterday's live coding happy hour with Lauren, and I said, I know that button is there, but I always do it the old-fashioned way. I need to learn that there is another way to do this, and frankly, that way looks better, looks more fun. I need to go explore that. So in terms of sharing that passion, another way you could do this is think about internally. If you don't want to get into public speaking or something, share internally. Create a focus group, create a study group in your organization with your team, and say, all right, let's take 20 minutes on a Friday and share what we've learned this week. Hey, I learned this new glide record way of doing blah, blah, blah. Other people go, really? I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. That saves time. I learned a new system property, or I learned that you can get to this thing by clicking that UI action. Oh man, I've been going through the menu and over here. You can save a lot of time, and you can learn from each other with tips and learning experiences like that. As you get comfortable with that, or maybe you just want to skip that entirely, think about sharing externally. This is how I kind of got started doing what I do today in ServiceNow. Now, I'm not going to guarantee everybody's career is going to go the same way as mine, but it certainly paid dividends in the long run by going on the community. You write a short blog article. Hey, I just discovered this, or did you know about X, Y, and Z? You could make a video, you could make a podcast, a blog, a LinkedIn newsletter, share it on social media, whatever else. There's lots of ways you can share that with the world. Not only does that help you understand, because I'm a firm believer in the philosophy, the best way to learn something is to teach it. And if you don't know everything there is to know, you're going to discover it and go, oh, yeah, I better learn a little bit more about that before I put my face out there. You want your best foot forward and so on. Another thing is, it may sound a bit cliche. You may have heard the phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. My adaptation of that, and I was just talking with a dear friend last weekend about this, that I've known since I was a teenager. I said, it's not what you know, it's who knows what you know. Because you may be the smartest person in the room, but if you never say anything, no one's ever going to know it. You may be a musician that only plays music for themselves. Is that really a musician? You can get into some ethical and philosophical questions on there. But sharing what you know, even if it's just a little new tip or trick, or look at this app I built, go visit my GitHub repo, establishes you as an entity, as a known subject matter expert. If it's just around that one thing, people go, oh, I saw this on so-and-so's blog. They'll remember that, or search results will help them get there. It also helps elevate your brand. So when you start to stand out from the crowd, people will notice, people will find you. You can put that on LinkedIn and say, here's a link to my GitHub repo, etc. So when you share that passion, it may seem a little self-gratuitous, and some of us are uncomfortable with getting out there and saying, hey, look at me and look at what I've done. That's investment in your career. It's not self-glorification. It's the same as trying to put your CV or your resume on somebody's desk. That's what you're doing. You're saying, I know this. If you're looking for this, you can count on me. Any questions so far about the passion? I kind of get passionate about this.
I'm getting most of questions in the chat window, Chuck. Maybe once you are done with the presentation,
Oh, good.
I will ask you.
Okay, yeah. I'm not seeing the chat.
No worries. I will ask you questions.
All right, I just have like 2 more slides. I'm not going to bore you to death.
No worries, Chuck. Yeah.
They carry with them some stories, so if I get too long, cut me off.
No, people are enjoying still.
Next tip is be flexible, be adaptable, experiment. Don't be afraid to try new things. When you get that assignment for a piece of the ServiceNow platform, or a technology, or a process, be open to those ideas. You're going to learn. We grow by being uncomfortable, by exploring new things. If all we did was the same old thing every day that made us comfortable, you'd never get any new experience. And something one of my bosses told me years ago, if you're not moving forward, you're standing still. And if you're standing still, you're actually falling behind because everybody else is moving forward. So keep learning, keep moving forward, keep exploring new ideas. When the opportunity came up years ago to be a manager, and I said, I'd like to give that a try. I'd never been a manager before. I've been in some leadership roles before, but manager was a bit different. I learned a lot. I wasn't very good at it, like many things when you first start, but I sought out a mentor. I found some resources, both local and abroad, and it really ended up shaping another piece of who I am, my career, and so forth. So don't be afraid to try that. 10 years ago or so, I didn't plan on the bow tie brand. I came up with a crazy idea in the middle of the night to wear one at Knowledge so I wouldn't blend in with the rest of the employees that were wearing all black. I said, black, 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 black. I said, I need something. I didn't know it was a bow tie at first. And I came up with a red bow tie, which actually looked pretty nice on black. And then it sort of stuck and it became a thing. So now I've got the bow tie. That was just a fun thing to explore and experiment with, and look where it went. It's kind of crazy. When I first started at ServiceNow, they put me on discovery. And when I was a customer, I implemented incident, catalog, and knowledge. It was a partial ITSM implementation. But I interviewed, and through the interviewing and the experience and what was on my resume, they said, I'll bet you'd make a good discovery technical consultant. And I kind of went, why? But then it was clear afterwards that I had experience with ports and protocols and APIs and making things talk to each other. And that's a lot of very valuable information. I had to learn how discovery worked with probes and sensors and classifiers and all that good stuff. But thanks to the tutelage of smart people like Doug Schulze and his guidance for about 6 months, I got really good at it. And I found that very gratifying. So again, discover, experiment, and try things out. Since that time, I've had about 5 or 6 different other positions. And the nice thing about those is they always came to me. I didn't have to interview or go, hey, I'd like to try that position. They would find me and say, Chuck, would you like to be on our team? And you may be saying to yourself, well, that's because you're Chuck. I wasn't always who you see before you. I had my head down and I was doing my best job, and that got noticed. So work hard and the opportunities will come to you. I have loved every opportunity, every position I've worked on, every role I've had at ServiceNow, and they just keep getting better. Every time I say, I've got the best job in the world, and someone says, would you like to come to my team? And they really have to convince me hard, because I think my current job is always the best. So be flexible, be open to those discussions. And sometimes they might not be the right opportunity. I had a recent one in the last year or so, and I did a lot of soul searching and said, this is not the path I want to take. So that's all right too. You got to do what's best for you. Last one, I think. Yeah, there we go. No matter what happens, stay positive. This is directly from one of my favorite books by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a phrase in there that says, be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. It means always be positive. Back in 2010, when I got let go from my former employer of 22 years, it was unexpected. And there was another gentleman who was also let go that same day. Now, I chose to take the high road. I did not say anything bad about the employer. I was very thankful for the experiences they gave me over the last 22 years. He, on the other hand, was a little more, I don't know what the right word is, dark. He wasn't as positive. And as a result, I won't say this is 100%, it's more of a correlation, causality, I forget. It's not scientific and empirical. But I got a job fairly quickly. I said in 3 weeks, I had a job offer from ServiceNow. He, on the other hand, was unemployed for 2 years. Now, think about it. If you were seeking out a new hire and you heard through the grapevine somebody is available, you want to know more about that person. What are they like? How are they doing? What's their attitude? What's their work ethic? And if you hear positive things, you go, you know what? I like the sound of that. That person is upbeat. That person is energetic. They're willing to take on new risks and opportunities. Whereas the other person, if they're grouchy, I don't want to hire anybody like that. They're going to drag my whole team down. So when it comes to talking about products or services, if there's something you don't agree with or you don't like, reach out privately to a person. Don't put it on the internet and say this is I hate this and do this, do that. I just had obviously you want to speak in a civil tongue and offer suggestions is another thing. My managers have always told me, don't come to me with problems, come to me with solutions. Come to me with options and which one you recommend. I'll listen to that, but I'm not here to solve all your problems for you. And that's good career advice as well. A recent example of talking civilly, or talking in general tonight, speaking with a civil tongue, I'm trying to book a hotel for next year. This was a call I made last week, and I couldn't get through. Finally, I got through, and the lady said, I'll deliver a message to the call agents. They never called me back. That happened twice. So between Monday and Friday, I had apparently 2 messages that were hand delivered to the call agents who never got back to me. And I'm kind of thinking, this is not good service. But what I did is when I finally did get through to one of the call agents, I said, could you help me understand what's going on here? How do you get to be this level of customer? They seem to be getting preferential treatment. I would like that. And we approached it very calmly, very professionally. She gave me the information, and it was clearly spelled out. If I had gotten in there and started yelling at her and calling names, that wouldn't have got me anywhere. She's a human being. I'm a human being. We might as well treat each other fairly. She's doing the best she can. I discovered they were switching systems and switching processes. They had a whole bunch of new employees. They were trying to re-engineer something that was happening that was totally out of my control. And now that I understand that, I'm totally open to, let's let this play out the way it plays out. And I'll get an email. I discovered I'll get an email when it's time for me to book that, when it's open for me to make a booking on that room or at that hotel. So be positive. Don't go through life swinging a big stick, or you're going to leave a wake of destruction in your path, and that's never good for anybody's career. So just to sum it all up, I think I covered this. I'm going to try and hit it. There we go. Find and share your passion. Be flexible and positive. That's my career advice. Did we have any questions about that?
Thanks a lot, Chuck, for your 4 biggest, I would like to say, pointers which are going to help us. And it's a blend of how you should behave as a human, and technology that should go hand in hand. We have a lot of questions for you in my chat box. I am struggling to shortlist it. So grab your water, have some few seconds of rest. That is okay. So
You bet.
we hosted Pranav Khurana also a few months back. Okay, and people asked the same question to him, and they want to ask you as well. How does a day job looks like for a senior advocate at ServiceNow? What do they exactly do? Do they work on projects? Do so? Like people want to know, like what Chuck, Pranav, and others do in their day job.
Sure. Mainly the advocates have 2 core things they focus on. One is content. We're looking to make videos and blog posts and podcasts and things to help the admins and developers and the community just engage and learn and get more out of the platform. So we want to get people excited and become our advocates. So my ideal situation is, developers have a voice at an organization, whether you're working for a partner or whether you're working for a customer directly. You have a voice, and that makes an impact on your manager and the manager above them. So my ideal situation is, we've got a customer out there and they're sitting around going, well, we need to redo this process. Let's say our purchasing application or our warehouse management or whatever it is. They say we can do X platform, Y platform, or ServiceNow. And the developers, I want the developers to raise their hand and say, we're using ServiceNow. We're going to build that on ServiceNow because it's faster and less maintenance and upgrades, and they keep innovating to get out there and share that passion for the platform. It's not just me, I'm one voice, but if we can amplify that, that's my dream. So content enabling people and discovering new tools and making them more effective in their jobs to get to those solutions in a safe, controlled, governed, best practices, all that good stuff. The second piece is the community. So we drive the community. Obviously, there's the online community, but there's the larger community, and we do that through various programs, whether it's our MVP program or the developer meetups or the Devies Award. There's the CreatorCon experience. There's a lot of different ways we drive and engage that community. So pretty much everything I do is one of those 2 things. Tonight's or this morning's webinar, depending on where you are, engaging with you is part of that community. My favorite moments of this job are when we get to talk face to face. Second favorite is when we get to talk on Zoom. No, I love getting out there and talking to our developers and learning what they're doing and how we can do better.
Thanks a lot, Jack, and thanks to all those people from ServiceNow who are inspiring us. You are the people, by whom we saw at the very first day when we started learning the admin course of ServiceNow. Or I still remember when I got this ebook for application developer. I said, this award-winning application made by Chuck Tomasi. Who is Chuck Tomasi? A famous guy at ServiceNow? What is his name? So thank you so much
I'm just
for.
a, I don't think I'm famous. I'm just a developer. I always have been for 40 years. I happened to turn on a microphone and start making podcasts, and then I, turned on a camera and started making videos, and ServiceNow said, "Hey, that's pretty neat. We should do more of that." And I said, "I'm happy to do it."
All
So,
right, thanks, Jack. I know it's Saturday night for you. I would not take much time of yours. Few, two, three more questions before we wrap up, which I guess is important
sure.
to you to ask. The first question is around scripting, okay? And that is the question where most of the people are in confusion. Why? Because one side they understand that ServiceNow is a kind of a low-code platform. They should
Mhm.
learn about the modules, the processes, the integrations, and should not care about the scripting part, right? And there are a second type of people who are into scripting. They are learning scripting like hell day and night, how they can master it, different APIs out of the box and all that stuff. So people are in confusion, like what is the balance out there? Okay, so what's your advice on that? They know how ITSM works, how CSM works, how does automation works in ServiceNow, but how to go about scripting? Is it really the need for developers, designers, architects? And if it is a need, to what extent it is?
Sure. And great question, by the way. I would even put a third class of developers in there, people who already know perhaps some other language, whether it's C# or Ruby or PHP or whatever, and they're coming into the ecosystem and think that, well, I'm a really good developer. I've written multiple millions of lines of code in my life. So here we go. And then they're confronted with something like App Engine Studio. Go, where's all the code? It can be a little confusing. So whether you're coming at it from a low code, no code origin, or maybe somebody who's been coding for a while, it's not a necessity, but it's an enabler. I would say it can take your solutions to the next level. And that comes, to quote Uncle Ben from Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Right there's a good nerd reference for you tonight. The I fall into the trap a lot of times that I come from that traditional, I've written a lot of code, therefore my first instinct is to write code. And really it shouldn't be, because when you write code, yes, you can create some magnificently powerful solutions on the platform. You can build a lot without writing any code. Think of all the power that's in Flow Designer and decision tables and uh, just lots and lots of capabilities on the platform that don't require any code, or maybe just a little code if you wanted to put a function inside a data pill inside of Flow Designer. You can do a lot. But if you wanted to get deeper and go, oh man, there's really, I've got to write a scripted REST API because it's going to be returning this wonderfully complex object, da 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 da. You make up your own scenario. But having that ability to understand JavaScript, to understand perhaps Angular if you're writing Service Portal, or Node.js if you're going to be doing UI builder components, you've got that ability to create things that didn't exist before at a whole new capacity. You can create libraries of reusable content. So I may create a subflow that does 4 steps really nicely. Another option, maybe the subflow didn't do exactly what I wanted. I wanted to create a custom nested payload of arrays of objects, and it's like, okay, I understand that. I'll do that with a scripted REST API. I need to learn some JavaScript, or I need to have some JavaScript that I can create those with. So it takes you past, maybe threshold is too strong of a word, but it can take you to another level in the complexity of those solutions. Now, the caution is, one, maybe I should say cautions are, one, don't think of scripting first. There are many things you can do faster, better, more sustainable, more maintainable, long run if you don't script. A year ago, I was working on a project that I took over from somebody who's no longer at the company, and it was created prior to Flow Designer, prior to Integration Hub, so it was very much scripted outbound REST messages and a lot of complex logic that was in like 2 script includes that were about 600 lines each. Not a trivial amount of code. I was able to crush most of that down to a flow, a subflow, and a decision table to get the same level of logic. Now I've taken a lot of code out of there. So when you write code, there is a cost to maintaining that. Somebody has to come along later, whether it's a new person or heaven forbid, I have to look at some of my old code that's 3, 4, 6, 10 years old and say, what was I thinking here? What is it doing? Chuck, why didn't you write better comments and documentation? And was that even up to date? So there's that cautionary tale of don't jump in and think code first. Try thinking, is there a better way to do this without code first? And then when you need code, it's there. You can create those more complex solutions, and there are ways to do that so that your code continues to work for years and years and years to come. I've got code still running on when I was a customer implementation that's still out there, that still works just fine. And it was even before Aspen came along in 2011, 2012, whatever that was. So watching for those best practices to make sure that you're using good code that will endure, that doesn't need to be refactored at every upgrade.
Thanks a lot, Chuck, for a detailed response, and have patience in responding that. So what I understood from that is you should know your platform first rather than directly jumping into coding and making your stuff. If your platform is capable enough to do that stuff, why not utilize that? So that's the thing here.
You said that way more elegantly than I did.
Chuck, there is one question at least 20 to 30 people have asked in the chat, about it. How do you see ServiceNow and artificial intelligence? As artificial intelligence is booming up nowadays. So what are the plans in ServiceNow about it, and how it is going to impact or enhance ServiceNow as a platform? So what are your thoughts on artificial intelligence and ServiceNow? How does they go hand in hand?
Another great question, and very timely too, because I sort of think of 2023 seems to be the year of generative AI. AI is not new. Of course, it's a very broad term. It's not new to the ServiceNow platform. Our strategy for the last 5 or 6 years has been looking at AI and machine learning. We started machine learning, what was it, Kingston, even before that, Jakarta, I forgot. It was years ago. We brought in machine learning to take and analyze how are things being assigned, how are they being classified in categories, and build models around that so you can do some predictive modeling to create that. And we've made, I lost count, 5, 6 acquisitions to bring in things like natural language understanding and to make virtual agent better than before. So this next generation of AI, where we're incorporating generative AI into the platform, I see it as a wonderful tool. It really is a time saver. When I started with ServiceNow, a lot of things were in code that would later then be low coded. Business rules at the time were only code. We didn't have the condition builder in there. We didn't have the ability to set values and check that box that says abort. It was all code. In fact, even earlier to that, there weren't even UI actions, and UI policies didn't exist, and it was crazy. There was a lot more coding to be done. And as we recognized the patterns that customers were doing, we would create easier and less coded ways to do that. Generative AI, I see, as the next level of doing that. For example, when I was a customer and I had 10 tickets for our top customer, and they said, here, give a summary to the manager. it would take me an hour or more to go through what are these cases about, looking through the activity history, looking at who assigned what to whom and what exactly is the sentiment of this whole thing, and then hand off a report. Now you can click a button that says summarize, and it distills and condenses all of this down to useful information. That's pretty powerful stuff. We've got the ability to enter a comment in code. So if you don't know your JavaScript and you want to learn, this might be a good way to do it, but text to code, put in a comment, count all of the P1 active incidents and group them by category. Boom, there comes 8 to 10 lines of JavaScript. I saw some pretty amazing things in a demo recently that one of our senior architects was doing. He said, I'm going to go into the client script field on Service Portal, and I'm going to type in exactly what I was looking for. And it took him about 4 hours and a lot of Stack Overflow articles. He said, // get me the width of the user's browser and do something with it. There came some obscure, window dot something, or it was, I wouldn't have been able to find it real easily, but out came the code. So it can save a lot of time. And as somebody who likes to build and build quickly, that's a nice thing to have at your fingertips. So I'm in favor of it. Again, with great power comes great responsibility. We're all aware that generative AI is still on its infancy legs. So it's learning to walk and sometimes stumbles. So always review what it gives you. You go to ChatGPT and it comes up with some crazy answers and you go, that's not quite right. Things like that are likely to happen in this early generation. But as we get more data behind it, as we get more use cases to feed off of, it's going to get better and better. So I see it as a real win. Some people said, oh, it's going to put the developers out of jobs. Like, no, it's going to make the developers way more effective and not bother with the low-level grunt work, the same as our platform initially elevated me out of, oh, I've got to set up an Apache server, and then I've got to set up PHP, and then I've got to bring in all these libraries, and then I've got to build the CSS and the HTML and the JavaScript. And now, I built a lot of stuff before I'm actually building something useful to the organization. Generative AI can take us another level up, so we're building useful things and we're doing useful things faster.
Thanks a lot, Chuck. It answers most of the questions people had. Those questions also, like how it is going to affect my job, right? So, Chuck, second last question, and this question I would like to take opportunity to ask. Okay, how do you manage things? Because I know you are someone who started learning it from scratch, and it was not like you only learned ServiceNow, you only did your job and 9 to 5 job and get away with it. Okay, I know you have done massive personal projects. Okay, you have done a lot of things at parallel. So some advice you would like to give to our community, because people are struggling in doing that. People says I should do my 9 to 5 job, then I should go at community also to contribute or to learn, or I should fight for MVP tag also, rising star also. I need to do my certification also. I need to learn the new topics ServiceNow is bringing every month, every second month, right? So how to manage those things? Check.
That's a very big discussion. We could be here for another hour.
2 minute advice from you. What comes into your head?
2-minute advice: prioritize. Okay, take an inventory of what you revolve around and what revolves around you. What are you impacted by? Family, your job, your home, your interests. Take a look at all of those and prioritize them. Okay, I'm going to recommend family comes way at the top. Okay, way at the top. That should be the first thing in any situation. It's really easy, and I've fallen into this trap before too. I'm doing all this extra work to provide a better life for my family, but if I'm not there for my family, it's not a better life. Okay, it's actually it can be very detrimental. I'm not going to get into any specific examples from my personal life on this show, but it has backfired a few times. I said, well, wait a minute. I'm doing what I love and I'm spending a lot of time on it. Isn't that great? But you know, when the kids come up and say, when they were little, and say, you know, why weren't you here? Or Daddy, you're spending too much time doing that thing. They don't understand. So you got to be there for them. So put the family at the top, and everything else should fall in place for that. If you've got some extra time and you carve it out, or maybe you have a discussion with your manager or your manager's manager and say, this is what I would like to do. Could I have some time to carve out of my regular schedule to dedicate to learning more about this, because I think it will be valuable later on? Great, do that. And have that discussion. They're often very open to that. They go, oh, this is somebody who's interested in learning and growing, and that's the kind of employee we want. So work is important, but it's only a piece of who we are.
Thanks a lot, Chad. Thanks a lot for that. One last question, and you can't get away with it. People are asking you when you are coming to India for a developer meet.
I saw that one go by. I don't have a definitive answer. I really, really want to get there. Everybody's been asking that for years. A couple of opportunities came up, and then so did COVID. So I was getting closer there. I know some of my colleagues in the past have, Dave Slusher and Josh Narius and Andrew Barnes, and they've told me wonderful, wonderful things about the people, the food, the culture. I really would love to. I don't have anything immediate, but if my boss said, hey, are you interested in going? I would jump on the opportunity. It might be a little harder now that we have Pranav over there, because yeah, there's
or maybe we will utilize him to get in there, yeah.
But the reason he was hired is, so we would have India presence, and now, he's turning into a rock star of his own.
Yeah, no worries. We would like to see you there. Anubhav has some question. We'll have some last question of the day, as I know you had to sleep also. Sure. Anubhav, would you like to speak? Yeah.
Yes, it's a couple of questions actually from chat. One is many are asking, is there any plan for the mentorship program which happened last time?
We are working on that, what the second generation looks like, who it's going to be open to, because I think it was open to developers last time. We'd like to open that to a wider audience, but with wider audience means more resources from our side, or we have to find a way to do that pairing more effectively. There were some that were very successful. I was very fortunate to get a wonderful person as my mentee, and we worked that relationship. I saw some wonderful outcomes to that. I even got to meet this person at Knowledge 23 in person, so it worked out really well. But I don't have anything definitive or a timeline or anything, but it is on the roadmap.
Okay. And one question was that how we can motivate someone from rural area, students, to come into ServiceNow and grow their career into ServiceNow.
I would just add to this question. That's a really fantastic question, Anubhav. So check, there are many people out there in the community who are serving students and less privileged people to learn ServiceNow. Anubhav is there, Atul is there. I know few names out there. Okay, so what's your advocacy of ServiceNow? Like what is your advice to serve ServiceNow to them, to give them an opportunity where they can learn before they come into a job, right?
I would say check out the developer site, get a free PDI, go through some of those free learning plans, explore. Like I said before, don't be afraid to explore and engage and ask questions. Try the waters. You can go into the shallow end of the pool before you jump in with both feet and struggle in the deep end.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's not the experience we want. And you find that the community of people is and always has been very open, very giving, very, in many cases, forgiving. And you can learn a lot by getting into that. There's also the possibility of getting involved with the Rise Up program. So we are very eager to get more admins and developers into the ecosystem, architects, people in all different aspects and roles. So it doesn't necessarily even have to be technical. It could be a business process consultant. That we're going to need that if we're going to succeed and grow. We need more people to jump in. So take a look at the Rise Up program. Might be a good way to get involved as well.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Before I give my concluding remarks for today, I would like to have a picture with you if you're comfortable. So,
Sure.
1, 2, 3, go. All right. Thank you so much, Jack, for your time. And to be very frank, when I texted you to get your time for this Now Gurukul session, I was in a, having a thought that you might not reply or you might be busy, but you are so generous that you have taken your time on a Saturday night for us. Okay, we are really grateful to inspiring more than 150 people in this house today, and all will keep learning, will keep listening to you in the next upcoming days as well. Thank you so much, Jack, for your time, and I hope you also like interacting with the people and inspiring them. Any last minute conclusion remarks from your side?
Thank you very much for having me. It's been an honor, and I wish you all well.
All right. So as we say in our Indian tradition, namaste, and wish to see you in India soon. Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.